Ron Weasley, Harry's best friend. The beating heart of the Weasley family. The boy who sacrificed himself on a giant chessboard at 11 years old so his friends could save the day. But my question is, why does he feel so small in the films? No, I don't mean Ron should have been the chosen one. But given how vital he is to the books, it's genuinely strange how often the movies reduce him to a punchline, a sidekick, or a passive bystander, while his best friends get to be brilliant. He's funny, warm, fiercely loyal, the perfect co-lead. And yet, scene after scene, his instincts get stolen, his lines get reassigned, his courage gets quietly edited out. Today, we're going to break down exactly how that happened, and why it matters more than most people realize. Let's dive in. Reason number 1. Ron's best moments were quietly reassigned. Let's start in the place most people start with when they have this conversation. The Devil's Snare scene in Philosopher's Stone. In the book, the trio gets tangled in Devil's Snare. Hermione panics. She knows the solution. You have to relax. Let the plant loosen. But she freezes under pressure and forgets she's a witch. It takes Ron, of all people, to snap her back. Have you gone mad? Are you a witch or not? That's a revealing moment for both of them. Hermione is brilliant but brittle under pressure. Ron is calm enough in a crisis to bring her back. It's a character beat for two people. In the film, that scene belongs to Hermione. She's the one who identifies the plant, knows what to do, and solves the problem alone. Ron gets to look panicked and confused. Now, why did that happen? Partly because the filmmakers had to compensate for cutting Hermione's other defining moment from that same chapter, the logic potion puzzle, where she uses pure reasoning to solve which bottle is safe. That scene had no place on our screens, so they gave her Devil's Snare instead. Logical, understandable, but Ron lost something real in the process. And this pattern, small, justifiable changes, each with a reasonable explanation, is essentially the template for everything that follows. Reason number 2. The screenwriter's favorite character was Hermione. This is where it gets more interesting. 7 of the 8 Harry Potter films were written by Steve Kloves. And Kloves has been open about the fact that Hermione is his favorite character. When Rowling first met him, she was nervous. This was an American adapting her life's work. But when Kloves told her Hermione was his favorite, Rowling felt immediately at ease. At the time, Ron was actually the more popular character with readers. Hermione was polarizing, brilliant but abrasive, the kind of person you admire more than you enjoy. Kloves saw something different. He described her as the outcast of the outcasts. Complicated, difficult to love. And in a DVD extra from Chamber of Secrets, he explained his approach directly. Hermione, because she's so well read, is his favorite vessel for exposition. You just assume she read it in a book. That's a revealing admission, because there's a scene in Chamber of Secrets where Ron, fresh from being hexed and vomiting slugs, should be the one explaining the concept of blood purity to Harry and Hermione. He's the one with the cultural background to do it. He grew up in the wizarding world. He knows what mudblood means, why purebloods believe what they believe, and why it's wrong. And he's also able to communicate all of that while attempting to make a joke about Neville being a terrible wizard despite being a pureblood. In the film, Ron is reduced to the vomiting slugs gag. Hermione delivers the exposition. She probably read about it in a book. It's not sabotage. It's just a writer gravitating toward the character he finds most interesting. But multiply that across 130 combined hours of film, and you start to see how much ground Ron loses. Reason number 3. Smooth Harry needed a lesser friend. Here's the part that flies under the radar. The changes to Ron aren't just driven by Hermione. A significant chunk of them come from how the films softened Harry himself. Book Harry is genuinely flawed. He's stubborn, judgmental, and slow to change his mind about people. His internal narration is often uncharitable, particularly toward Hermione, who he privately finds exhausting. He favors Ron, clearly and unapologetically. There's a line in Deathly Hallows that captures it exactly. There was much less laughter and a lot more hanging out in the library when Hermione was your best friend. Movie Harry doesn't have that interior life. We don't hear his thoughts. The camera can't narrate. And so, without knowing what Harry actually thinks, the film defaults to what looks natural, which is Harry responding warmly and equally to both friends. The result is that Hermione feels more like Harry's co-equal best friend, while Ron quietly slips into the position of funny sidekick who sometimes needs rescuing. To illustrate, in Chamber of Secrets, the book has Ron agree to follow the spiders into the Forbidden Forest because Harry asks him to. He's scared. He complains, but he goes. When Aragog attacks, Ron helps throw the dog into the car. The car drives itself and they escape, Ron contributing meaningfully to the group's survival. In the film, the scene is turned into a full car chase. Ron freezes at the wheel. The car fails him. Harry has to take over. Ron whines. The protagonists. The supporting character supports by being afraid. Again, more cinematic, more tense, better action sequence, but Ron is smaller for it. Reason number 4. His flaws got amplified. Hermione's got buffed away. Here's the thing about Ron and Hermione's relationship in the books. They genuinely clash because they're both flawed, and their flaws are different. Hermione is intolerant, inflexible, and terrible at managing conflict. Ron is emotionally reactive, sometimes cruel under pressure, and slow to apologize. But they like each other precisely because of that friction. They argue the way people argue when they're comfortable. Harry finds it annoying. They find it fun. The Scabbers vs. Crookshanks conflict in Prisoner of Azkaban is a clean example. In the book, it's a real rupture. Hermione is in denial. Ron is furious. Hermione goes to Hagrid's hut to cry. Harry thinks their friendship might be over. Both characters have visible flaws. Both characters are wrong in different ways. In the film, it's background noise. Hermione's a little indignant. Ron whines. It resolves without consequence. By the time we reach the Yule Ball and Goblet of Fire, the films have established a version of Hermione who is consistently more polished than her book counterpart. So when Ron lashes out at her after the ball, jealous, embarrassed, unable to articulate what he actually feels, it doesn't read as two flawed teenagers hurting each other. It reads as Ron being immature and Hermione waiting for him to grow up. The dynamic has shifted. It's no longer two people who need each other. It's one person improving and one person catching up. Reason number 5. The Deathly Hallows fight. And the line that changes everything. This is the one that genuinely bothers people. And rightfully so. In Deathly Hallows, Ron's argument with Harry before he leaves the group is one of the most important scenes in the entire series. Ron is malnourished, festering with worry about his family, and wearing a Horcrux that amplifies his darkest thoughts. He says terrible things. He says, "Your parents are dead. You have no family." And it lands like a slap. But here's the context the book provided that the film strips away. Just before the fight, Harry has been casually reassuring Ron that Ginny, Neville, and Luna, who've been sent to the Forbidden Forest as punishment, are probably having a laugh with Hagrid. The Forbidden Forest. Big deal. Harry is so used to danger that he's forgotten other people aren't. Ron hears that and snaps. His cruelty isn't random. It's a response to feeling like Harry doesn't understand what's actually at stake for the people they've left behind. He doesn't think Harry is heartless. He thinks Harry is oblivious. That's a more complicated emotion than the film allows. The film version changes, "You have no family," a line that's insensitive but rooted in Ron's panic about his own family, to sound more like Ron doesn't consider Harry family at all. That's a different betrayal, a crueler one, and it flattens what should be the most complex moment in Ron's arc into a jealousy subplot that practically begs to be memed. There's something genuinely ironic about that. Ron's entire emotional journey is about overcoming the feeling of being overshadowed by his exceptional brothers, by his exceptional friends. And then the films overshadow him, not out of malice, not out of a conspiracy, but out of the same quiet, compounding indifference that his character is literally fighting against. The conclusion I keep coming back to is that there's no villain in the story. There's no smoking gun memo that says, "Make Ron the bumbling one." There's just a screenwriter with a favorite character, a production that needed Hermione to carry exposition, a protagonist whose interiority couldn't survive the translation to screen, and a supporting character who absorbed all of those compromises, one scene at a time, until the version of Ron that most of us first encountered wasn't quite the Ron Rowling wrote. He deserved better, and I think the books prove he was worth it. If this video got you thinking about how much the people around Harry shaped who he became, I've actually done a full video on exactly that. What if Harry had been raised by someone completely different? Dumbledore? McGonagall? The Malfoys? Check that one out. Link's on screen now.